7:30 in the morning, and they were Josh
Yeah.
and Jeff and Zany were playing.
All right, guys, we should be live now.
Live, live,
Live
live.
and in Technicolor.
Yes.
No.
Oh, you got the Steve guy just making everything all bright and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not even a cool light. You're supposed to get a black light if you're going to be
No,
all cool.
I got this from the dollar store for $1.
Well, that's why they call it the dollar store. Everything's $1, right?
Not always.
Yeah.
Some dollar stores they sell for $5. Stuff for $5.
Yeah, you get. Yeah, that's wrong. If it says dollar store and you pay $5 for something, you got ripped off, dog.
Yeah, I know. But whoa, I got I got a push notification. DistroTube is live.
Was that the Apple Watch?
No, that's a T-Rex watch. 1 month battery life, 40 days battery life.
Nice.
Yeah, I got it for $150. So.
I've never done the whole smartwatch thing. I should try it out because a lot of people tell me they're awesome.
Apple. The virus was Apple. When I first bought the Apple Watch, since I got a discount because I was working there. But ever since I put it on my wrist and I got used to the notifications on my wrist, I can't live without them.
Yeah. That's what I've heard, because I tell people when they talk about smartwatches, that sounds kind of weird. I don't think I'd like it. And everybody's like, yeah, I thought the same thing till I got one. And now I got to have the watch. Yeah.
I got infected by Apple.
It's the same way with cell phones. How, nobody used to carry a phone around. And then all of a sudden everybody has to have one. Like they feel naked if they don't have that phone.
Some people do. I don't care about my cell phone because everything I get on the smartwatch. That's why it's always in my pocket, but I never look at my phone. I rarely look at my phone.
I have a bad habit of losing watches, so.
Yeah, but speaking of which, I made a video recently that everybody it's my most watched video in 2 days. And it was setting the record straight about everything. Because there are members.
It was a rant video.
Not rant, ranty style, yes.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people on my server who think I'm artificially holding back Zero Linux. I'm not allowing it to grow because I set artificial limitation. Like I don't want it to become this. I don't want it to become that. And
yeah, many distros do similar things. Like many distros have a very limited scope of things they want to work on, features they want to work on. Like think of something like Elementary, right? It's not trying to be another Debian distro, right? They have their own small little suite of applications they work on that pretty much make Elementary, and they're not interested in all the other crap that
for example
could go into something.
The example that users use for Zero Linux is you're not allowing it to grow in the security aspect of things. You're not concentrating on adding security features to Zero Linux. I was like, if I include this security application and this security tweak and that security tweak, who am I to force any of that of those things?
Yeah, let the users worry about that.
Let the users do it the way they prefer. If I do it my way, they might not like my way, my method of doing things.
Yeah, and maybe that's because coming from the Arch philosophy, if you will, if you want all that, you install it, right?
Yeah.
Don't ship it out of the box.
That's why I used Arch as a base, because it doesn't force anything.
Because Arch does not do any of that out of the box. Like it's not installing firewalls and all that.
That brings up an issue, and I think the people in the chat can chime in on this. What is the big deal of everybody saying, why do you have 2,195 packages? That's a lot of bloat. I install packages.
If they're asking that about me, that's actually about the number I have installed on my. I've got about 2,200 packages installed through Pacman.
Yeah, they're all dependencies. People think they're dependencies. They're not packages that we manually install. We don't install 2,000 packages, but there's something called dependencies. You install one package, end up with 20.
Yeah.
Well, for me, the reason is I've got a lot of window managers installed, and a lot of them are written in different programming languages than the other. So I've got all these different programming languages also installed on my computer.
Oh yeah,
And so
like
I just
Python,
think
for
it's
example, Python and the dependencies of Python.
no.
I tried to install a theme, Catpuccine.
Mhm.
Catpuccine. I tried to install it, because they use a Python script. It brought down like 100 different other packages.
right.
So it's
But
normal
I
to end
just
up with this number of packages unless you're installing Flatpaks. Then the number will significantly drop, because
I
those
just
are
Yeah.
containers.
yeah, I just don't understand the abuse that people give each other about it though. It's like
It's the same thing. It's the same story with Wayland. Like, why
Yeah.
doesn't Zero Linux ship with Wayland by default?
Yeah.
It works
Well,
for
I mean,
me. It works for me.
well,
It should
it's going
work
to
for
depend on a lot
everybody.
of things. Yeah. Also, well, now you're just doing a KDE and GNOME, which both support
And
Wayland.
XFCE.
But if you're doing XFCE, then you can't do Wayland on XFCE.
No, that's the only thing that's saving me from this all this discussion. But for
Yeah.
KDE, for example, I spent 18 hours on a script to make sure that it installs everything and does everything that's
Yeah.
necessary to enable Wayland. Only it doesn't work for me because my
That's like,
hardware is.
it's the people that are constantly in the community telling everybody needs to use Wayland. Well, that's great. If you're using GNOME, Wayland's pretty good. If you're using KDE, it is kind of okay.
it won't even boot for me.
No, for
I
me,
won't even go into
I
it.
cannot even log into it.
It'll depend on the graphics card too.
Maybe it's not the graphic card. Well, on GNOME it works, but it's KDE and my graphic card, because I got this flashing multiple screens. All my screens flash, and then Plasma Shell crashes.
I didn't.
But
I
it's
don't
just
even get
weird
that
the
far.
community telling people they need to switch to Wayland. Like the average desktop computer user doesn't care about Xorg or Wayland. Well, they care about I'm running Linux Mint Cinnamon. Cinnamon doesn't work on Wayland. So
And
why
they're
would
still not
grandma
interested.
that's running Linux Mint Cinnamon want to switch distribution so she can use Wayland when she doesn't even know what the hell Wayland? Yeah.
And Clément is still not interested in adding Wayland support for now.
No, it's going to be seriously. It's Xorg and Xorg desktop environments and window managers are going to be commonplace for at least the next decade. Like the people that want just Xorg to completely die and everybody that's using Xorg just switch to Wayland tomorrow. That's
This mentality, I don't know why.
it's impossible. Like I don't understand why they even think that could happen.
You made a very interesting video a while back. You were like, you said in the video something along the lines of, if it still works for you and it's solid for you, there's no need to switch.
And it's not even just Linux. Obviously, all the BSD operating systems are on X11.
Yeah,
like, they're not going
X11
anywhere.
is not going anywhere, but there's this mentality that Wayland X11 is receiving 0 commits, so nobody, and it, by extension, it's very vulnerable. It's not secure. It's problematic. So everybody should move and switch to Wayland.
Yeah, that was that video I made where people think that because I get this all the time, if a piece of software hasn't seen a commit in like 3 months, 6 months, a year on their GitHub or their GitLab, the project's pretty much dead, or you shouldn't use it.
And you said that in your video as well, yeah.
I was like, do you realize how many programs on your system haven't seen an update in decades? Literally decades.
Exactly.
The standard editor,
their potential.
The standard editor on all Unix-like operating systems is VI. VI last saw an update in 2003. Or something crazy.
God.
That was the last update VI ever saw.
Yeah, and this mentality that, it didn't receive a commit in so long, I'm not using it because it's unstable.
Oh, it must be buggy, or it must be dangerous to use. Well, obviously not.
I would understand when it comes to Grub. If Grub didn't receive a commit in a long time, yes, because Grub is a potential.
It's important. If your init system didn't see a commit, that might be an issue. If the kernel didn't see a commit, that'd be a big problem.
Yeah,
but
there are some pieces of software that are important to receive updates, but not everything. And Xorg, okay, it's not receiving everything. And the Xorg developers, most of them are moving to Wayland to work on Wayland. But Wayland is still not ready. People say there's this mentality of if it works on my machine, that means it should work on everybody's machines.
Well, you got to understand, too, the people that are really driving development of Wayland are mostly the people at Red Hat who are also sponsoring GNOME and pushing GNOME development. And GNOME and Wayland are kind of tied. So they're basically saying everybody should run GNOME.
Yeah.
When they just say, hey, everybody should run Wayland, everybody should run GNOME, because you can only use GNOME if you want to run Wayland right now. Let's be,
exactly.
be clear. Right?
That's why in my video I mentioned, like, if a beginner Linux user came to me who just started to use Linux, and he asked me which distro do you recommend to use, I would immediately say not Mint. Jump on Debian GNOME, because I know
Debian GNOME.
Yeah, Debian GNOME. Not
for a new user, instead of Mint, you want them on Debian
because it's more stable.
I think somebody should come up with a kiosk distro.
The problem with Debian is
of the minimum.
Debian is still very hardcore free software, and that can frustrate a new user when they try to get.
Now they include non-free and non-free firmware, Debian 12 and the GNOME. Since Debian 12 now includes non-free firmware repository, it's different from the non-free. The non-free firmware repository, because I'm running it on one of my SSDs, on this one, the green one. So and I installed NVIDIA, no problems. I just typed install NVIDIA drivers, done. And Wayland on KDE.
I get they have a repository of non-free software. That's not the issue. But a distro like Linux Mint, and they're based off of Ubuntu. Ubuntu does the same thing. They just install the NVIDIA drivers if they know you have an NVIDIA card. Like, that's what a new user wants, where Debian's not going to do that.
True. Debian is a bit more involved, yes, because you have to add the Flatpak repositories manually, and you have to add yourself to the root, give yourself root the privileges after install.
Yeah, a new user's not going to do all that.
That's true. I didn't think of that.
A brand new to Linux user is not even going to know what the hell you just said.
Yeah, and a brand new Linux user doesn't realize that, some distros install the kernel the NVIDIA kernel, and others do the DKMS, and the DKMS is easy to update on the fly, but the kernel update is a foobar all the way.
Yeah.
Here comes the fly. Out of here, Ben. Out of here.
There's Stefan.
No. I need a fly swatter to swat Ben.
Why is he a fly?
And why are we staring at his chest? He needs to adjust the camera.
He's got a manly chest. That's a manly chest.
Webcam is a piece of crap.
I was about to say, I'm live on YouTube. You can't be showing us all that, Ben. You can be demonetized.
My freaking webcam has the weirdest angles sometimes. I'm sorry. Excuse the bed-looking hair.
You just woke up?
Yes, Steve.
Yeah, but I do love Debian. It's maybe my favorite distribution. I have a soft spot in my heart for Debian stable, especially. But
you're right.
Yeah, for a new user, I could never tell a new user to run Debian. I
didn't think of that. No. I didn't think of these points. I thought because Debian is stable, that all users will know how to do all these things. But then again, with Debian, you have to read the Debian wiki, just like you have to with Arch.
Yeah. And Debian has gotten a lot better. When I first got into Linux and was installing Debian, like, they didn't even have a good graphical installer. They were still using.
They still don't.
They were using like just a plain ncurses installer, and there was a lot more manual things to set up. Like, it's a lot different now than it was 10, 15 years ago.
The ncurses install for the net installer.
Yeah, and I typically do go through the ncurses installer.
I use it. I use net installer
because it's got a lot more advanced options.
Yeah,
that they hide in the real installer, because the real installer is for newer people that you shouldn't go in and play with some stuff.
Like
I'm dangerous. I like taking on boxes that I don't know what they'll do.
Do they have the check everything box back?
I don't know.
If you select the one that doesn't have a desktop environment, yeah.
Okay.
The one if you download the KDE Plasma one, no, it won't have that screen. But if you download one without a desktop environment, it will have a graphical installer, and you can select whatever you want.
And we should talk about this. This is another reason why Debian is really bad for the new user. The fact that they ship the desktop environments straight vanilla from upstream. You know, it's like vanilla KDE Plasma is not a great experience. No. Let's be real.
No. Yeah. And also, Derek, vanilla XFC, what the crap?
That's not a good experience either. It really isn't. Yeah.
It's not very user friendly at all. I mean,
but it's worse with Plasma because the user is going to want to change things, and it's hard to figure out
immediately.
And it's hard to figure out where to even go to make those changes happen with Plasma.
Because I've been doing it so long now, it's second nature to me. I know where everything goes.
Man, it's so confusing. All the settings are in different places. Some of the settings are in like the control center for Plasma. Some of them are in the individual applications themselves. And
I think every new user should have to install Gentoo.
Then Josh must be happy you said that.
Oh God.
Yeah, but the problem with that is the installation process for Gentoo is rather simple. That's the trick with Gentoo is not installing it; it's actually using it after the install.
I know the difference between repositories and installing from source and what have you.
Oh yeah.
But speaking of which, Zero Linux for next year, for the second anniversary, if we can make it by then, we're working on an Ncurses version of the installer, which would give users, advanced users, not regular users, advanced users who want to have more control over what's installed. They can, if an internet connection is detected, they can download and install all their packages during the install phase. And they select either GNOME, XFCE, or KDE from a single installer. Any of the three spins. But that's for advanced users. This will take a while to work out because I'm not the one working on it. One of my the Giadisa, our friendly human. I say it in a Ferengi voice because he's our friendly human. He created the Zero build script, so he's gonna be they are going to work on it. So hopefully it will be finished by next year. No promises though.
Well, if y'all do that, is it going to just if they can pick and choose? Is it just going to be a net installer, or are you just going to?
Not a net install. It will install. The Zero Linux, if they select the Zero KDE version, it's going to install everything from local, but they can include extra stuff that will, if they want. If
that's what I was wondering.
Open Office, Free Office, LibreOffice, whatever, it's up to them. But
I thought maybe you were going like the Debian mini ISO, the really small ISO where everything's just a net install.
No, it's still going to be 3 gigabytes in size because it contains everything local. But if they want to install anything extra, they have the option.
It's kind of like Endeavor, or doesn't Endeavor still do kind of like a net install where you get to pick and choose everything?
Well, in Calamares, yes.
Yeah, I haven't run Endeavor in a while, but I remember they used...
The Ncurses version, what we're thinking of doing is they can also select which rice for KDE they want, because KDE has 4 rices right now, 5 rices. Now, so they can select which rice to apply out of the box instead of installing the system and then applying the rice. And then they have the ability to because Calamares has an issue, and I think will always have an issue if you select automatic partitioning, and if you select encryption. There's a bug here and there with a few bugs here and there with LUX encryption. So with Ncurses, they can have more control over how they want to encrypt, and if they select Btrfs, they can include Snapper and whatever they want out of the gate. They have more control. They will have more control.
I'm going to ask you this, Steve, because obviously I don't follow the development of the Calamares installer. Obviously, it's designed to be distro agnostic, but I'm sure that the maintainers of that installer have distributions that they run on their personal machines, what are they actually building that thing for? Are they building it mainly for Debian-based distributions or Arch-based distributions?
Here's the problem. Here, you hit the nail on the head with this question. The problem with Calamares right now is no longer being maintained by the original maintainer. He left for a paid job that pays him a lot of money. But he still pops in every now and again. Adrian, his name is Adrian de Groot. But now the problem with Calamares is each distro
maintains their own
for their each maintainer works on it for their distro.
Because I'm sure Manjaro has their own Calamares, and it's the Manjaro Calamares, right?
CachyOS, Zero Linux. We all have our Arco Linux. We all have our different iteration of. So you can say you can put it this way: Calamares itself has become fragmented.
Yeah, and it's gonna get even more fragmented because some of the Ubuntu flavors even use Calamares now, don't they? Doesn't Kubuntu?
They do. Kubuntu, Lubuntu, KDE Neon.
Right.
But the problem with the version of Calamares they lock all the features down. They don't use the modules. Right. They don't use the plugins. I mean the plugins.
Right, because it's for their own in-house use. Anything that they don't need, they're just going to strip out.
They hide the choice of partition scheme.
I mean, that's what I would do if I was forking it for my own personal use. Half those modules I'll never use. I'm just going to get rid of them in my fork.
Yeah, like in KDE Neon or Ubuntu or whatever, they hide the partition scheme. They use whatever they use, BTRFS or ext4. They hide the rest. So you're forced with whatever partition scheme they use.
Yeah, because some of those modules I did notice, having played a little bit with Calamares in the past, a little bit.
Yeah.
Some of the modules don't work the same on Debian as they do in Arch.
No,
like depending on right, they work in one but not in the other. Or right,
it's not about that. You have to configure them for the.
They're configured completely differently, right?
Yeah, and you have to do it yourself. If you're using it for your own distro, you have to take the modules, open it, and it's pretty. And the nice thing about Calamares, the modules, everything is explained within the module itself. So they tell you if you are on a Debian base, you change. Alex!
What's
up? He's here.
Kuya! How are you, Kuya?
I'm doing good, Kuya.
He's fellow Jitser.
Alex
Jitser, yeah.
That's just the default Jitsi name, until you change it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alex, he my brother. He my brother from another mother.
Hey, Alex.
Kuya is brother in Tagalog.
Oh, okay. How you doing, Alex?
I'm glad he explained that because I was wondering what the hell he was yelling to.
No, because Alex's wife is from the Philippines.
He gets a little.
I had a lot of friends from the Philippines.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, you get to see what Ben looks like in the flesh now.
yeah, it's really good to see you guys, man. I've been.
You're never gonna see. You're never gonna see Ben with a good head of hair because he's always waking up.
He's always just woken up. It doesn't matter. 3 in the afternoon. It looks like he just got out of bed.
I have really bad as heck energy, Alex. It's part of my autism. I'm sorry.
You don't have to worry about bed hair if you get the right haircut, Ben.
Well, another way
he's got that Hollywood cut going.
It grows so dang fast, Derek. It's not even funny. It's like,
I know. Trust me, I know. I haven't shaved in 2 days, and it's already like 1/8 of an inch. It's kind of hard, but yeah, I've got a full head of hair right now.
Yeah, but it's smaller than most.
I'm happy.
That's just lighter than most, and I've got some gray too. If I let it
to show. Yeah.
But I'm happy to say this is good news for Ben. I'm happy to say that 0 XFCE edition has not received any issue reported.
Any challenges, yeah.
Yeah, any challenges or any issues reported. It's working and it's fine.
That's good. Well, horribly.
Nobody's
the good news is, Steve, I finally got away from customized rootfs. I figured out how to do it.
Finally. Good, man.
Well, what I did was...
you used the Calamares module, like I told you.
No. I went to the Arch Wiki, and figured out that
There you go.
if I symbolic link manually all the system services, it works.
Yes, yeah.
You don't need
I
to
actually
do that. You have a module in Calamares called systemd-services.com.
Yeah, I probably could have just used that.
Yeah, instead of doing the manual way.
Yeah,
You have to read the modules, dude. Read.
Yeah,
Arch
I
Wiki
was.
saved more than one button.
Yeah, I
the
could probably
symbolic
just do that.
linking is tricky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
symbolic linking. But I'll let you in on a secret, DT. All the theme developers for GTK4 and libadwaita, they use symbolic linking because you have to do that. libadwaita
The problem
now,
I have with that is being a GitLab user. GitLab does not respect symbolic linking. So anytime I fork a project and then put it on my GitLab for my personal use, it boogers up all the linking.
Yeah.
Not only it boogers up, sometimes it sends you a push request failed or whatever.
Yeah.
Because, GitHub used to suffer that, but now they fixed it.
Yeah.
But still,
there's just no reason to do a symbolic link. Like,
well,
you can.
For GTK libadwaita, you have to because the asset because GTK3 they use everything inside .config. But libadwaita, to be able to theme libadwaita apps, everything should be in .themes, and it uses anything that is in .themes. So you have to symbolic link from .config GTK4 to point to .themes.
But why didn't they just leave it in .config? Because that's the XDG standard.
Because GNOME.
I mean, why are you breaking backwards compatibility for no reason?
Because GNOME.
Right.
Like, I can understand sometimes you have to break backwards compatibility, but when you do it for absolutely no reason, I got a problem with it.
Yeah, and I was so bored with XFCE, I was like, I want to add one more thing to zero XFCE. I added Albert. I don't know if you heard of Albert.
I know Albert. Yeah,
it rivals KRunner on KDE. It's the rival to KRunner on.
I think I did a video on it like 5-6 years ago, a long time ago. But Albert's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still being updated. Received an update yesterday. I built it. It's still on the AUR for some reason. But I built it. I just built it, and I included it on GNOME and XFCE because GNOME's version you cannot modify the search engines. What? I'm like, the minimum we should be control which search engine. And by the way, I'm happy to announce that Dark Zero, no longer uses DuckDuckGo, no longer uses any search engine except Brave Search because of your video.
Now, Brave Search is
really good.
It's so much better than DuckDuckGo. I'm not going to say it gives you the best results compared to Google, but it's definitely better than DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo gives you horrible.
There is one feature in Brave Search that I fell in love with. It summarizes the search results in a small paragraph on top of the search result.
Right.
It tells you those are the search results that are directly related to the subject you search for. Anything below that is touch and go. It's not really exactly, and they come and it tells you search with something else if you want. It gives you Google Images. It gives you DuckDuckGo. It gives you different buttons in line within the search results.
Now, one thing people do complain about is the image search within the Brave search engine isn't good, but
they don't use it anymore. They only use Google Image.
Google's
They ask if you want to use Bing or Google.
Right.
Yeah. They ask if you which one you want to use, but they admit it. They didn't crawl all the image sites and everything. They're still it's a search engine in production.
They built the search engine the right way in the early days. They were pulling stuff from Bing and Google, and they were letting people know. They were actually asking you, our search results are bad. Like their actual index. So we can pull some extra search results from Google to improve this thing. Would you like us to turn that on? And if you were smart, you turn that on.
Another reason I moved away from DuckDuckGo is because of your video. You or was it Brody? I don't remember. But one of you guys made a video and saying that. Oh no, I think you mentioned it in one of your videos just passing.
I compared the search results for a couple of just random things.
DuckDuckGo gets its results from Bing.
Yeah, and the DuckDuckGo results are not relevant. They're just not relevant. Like if you pick a popular Linux distribution, I think I searched for Ubuntu in both Brave and
you got it. You got it at the bottom of the page or second page.
at everything that you wanted as far as main Ubuntu websites, from Ubuntu.com and Ask Ubuntu and the Stack Exchange and their Twitter feeds, all that comes up in Brave. And in DuckDuckGo, you get just random articles from 5 years ago that talk about Ubuntu as the search results. Like, that's not what you want when you just search for the word Ubuntu. Yeah.
No.
Power just went out.
Yeah.
Well, my UPSs are running.
I can hear it beeping.
I just used Brave Search on my own personal name, and it's the more accurate results than what I've ever found.
Yeah, that's why I set it. I set it the default in my Vivaldi.
Yeah.
So you set in Vivaldi the default to be Brave Search.
Brave. No, that's funny.
Okay.
I used to have DuckDuckGo.
Hey, I hope the Vivaldi guys are listening to this.
If you're listening to this, Vivaldi, please include Brave Search as the default search provider in your browser. They did listen. They did listen to me on one feature. Why not listen to that one?
Yeah.
I was waiting for Vivaldi on iOS. Now there's a beta out. I'm using it on my phone. It's the most crash-happy browser I've ever used.
Yeah.
Speaking of new software, we should get into some Linux releases for the past month. Obviously, the biggest one's going to be Debian 12. How many people have played with Debian 12? I know, Stefan, you probably got some servers that you went ahead and did the updates on. How did it go?
And flawless.
It went flawless. That's good.
It was an amazing experience. It went flawless. I had no issues with upgrading whatsoever.
Wow, you never hear this in Linux. That is like, he said it went flawless. I was like, what? I was waiting for the punchline. I thought he was joking there for a second.
Nope, I'm running 6.1 kernels on the servers. Everything's up to date.
Got that new kernel? Oh, that's nice.
I have the latest support for Python, like the 3-11.
Mm-hmm.
Did SMB work out of the box? Did SMB file sharing work out of the box?
Well, I'm afraid of SMB.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
You and I both, brother. You and I both.
Well, that's why I was asking.
I've never had to share files between a Linux machine and a Windows machine, so I've never actually used Samba.
It's not only about Linux and Windows. I use Samba to share between two Linux machines.
Yeah, but why would you do that? Wouldn't you just use... Yeah.
Use what?
rsync, rclone.
No, I don't sync. I just copy files. Like I want to copy a movie from that I downloaded on this computer.
Sure, but you can copy with rsync and rclone as well.
Rclone. I have rclone on my repository. I put it there for a friend of mine, but I could never figure out how to use rclone. It takes an hour to build, and then I don't know how to use it.
It's a Swiss
rsync,
Army
I know
knife.
how to work rsync, but rclone, no.
Rclone is a Swiss Army knife. Like if you have to mess around with cloud services and managed hosting, Crapola. Rclone is your tool of choice.
Yeah, not too many Linux users fool with Samba unless they're working with Windows machines. It's kind of rare for somebody to go through the trouble of messing with Samba if they're
with Windows now supporting being able to read. I don't know if write on BTRFS now.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So, now Windows supports BTRFS.
And Windows is coming a long way. Eventually, it's going to catch up to Linux.
Yeah.
It'll still be a hot mess.
It's still going to be a hot mess. That's true.
Until they fix the desktop environment.
Yeah.
I haven't booted into Windows in well over. I'm getting to a year now without having booted into Windows.
You don't know that hell froze over when Windows switches over to KDE.
I haven't used Windows since 2008.
Well, I'm catching up to you.
I take that back. I've had some jobs where I had to use Windows machines, but on any of my personal equipment, I haven't.
Longest I ever went non-Windows was 10 years.
But I'm to tell you the truth, I'm too scared to get rid of Windows because I'm too scared that I might reach a point in time where I need Windows for something. And the fact that I have SSDs out the wazoo, I can just install anything I want on whatever I want.
Learn how to pivot when you need it. You'll figure something else out.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, in the
By
chat,
the way,
Hunter's
Alex,
asking. In the chat, I was going to answer Hunter. Is there a virtual box in Debian 12 other than the SID branch yet? So he's asking, do they make virtual box images for Debian 12 other than for SID? I'm not sure on that. I don't know if you
I'll
guys.
take a look, Derek. Hold on.
Yeah.
I have.
It is hard to find all the Debian ISOs though.
Use the Brave search.
Yeah. Good luck, right?
Okay, they make it for Debian 11 and 10 officially, but they do not for 12
They haven't made
yet.
one for 12 yet.
But it's easy to install in VirtualBox.
I was about to say you could
you
run
could
through a
just get the
Debian 12
.run
install in
file.
VirtualBox and be done in 15 minutes.
I've actually done that and had no issues whatsoever.
Yeah, I would just say get the run file because it's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not hard. I mean, you can
Even
be done
with
with the run file in like less than 2 minutes.
Is there a way? I mean, you could.
Oh, yeah.
Do they make it like a .img or anything like that
it's a
that you
VDI
could just?
It's a VDI image.
Yeah, but if Debian makes an IMG image, you can convert it to VDI and then just boot directly off of that as if it's a drive, and you'd have your live Debian 12.
I can make a Debian 12 VDI image for if anyone is interested. I can upload it. It's so easy.
Yeah, I've got a QCal for my Vert Manager Debian 12 too. Man, we could just throw it up on the internet and let anybody have the already built VM.
Yeah,
that too.
Yeah, because there's a website I have bookmarked like I don't know 5-6 years ago. It's called osboxes.org. This is where I get that's where I get all virtual machine images that I don't want to bother with.
Yeah, and I know there are websites, that all they do is they create VMs of various Linux distributions.
Yeah.
So you can go find a Debian 12 VirtualBox image somewhere.
And in the olden days, there was another website like this one, but that distributed Windows and Mac OS VMs. Well, Mac OS less because
that Windows VM would be a huge download.
Yeah, the Windows VMs they were along the lines of 15 to 25 gigabytes per image.
Right. and that's compressed, right?
And that's compressed.
Andreas in the chat just brought up that now I have to migrate 50 VMs to 10 real machines from CentOS, Alma, and Rocky to Debian. I'm suspecting he's doing that in lieu of the wonderful news that
the wonderful news, that.
Well, if you got everything already running, Alma and Rocky, you might want to wait and just to see what Alma and Rocky do before you make the move. But it's a good idea that you're already thinking about it just in case. That way, it's
those are the distributions that are going to. But according to Josh last night on Matt's podcast, he explained something. I think it's only for companies that the source code is closed, and if you're an individual, you have to sign in some sort of. You have to have an account, but you can. But I don't know. It's a little bit
you have to have an account, and you have to sign an agreement that you're not going to redistribute the code. Is what it is now. Which people are asking that's technically not closed source, because on my video I basically said it's closed source proprietary garbage now. Well, legally, it's not a violation of the GPL to put the code behind a paywall, because you can make money with free software. Richard Stallman has said that for years. He makes money with free software. You can license something under the GPL and sell it. You can put it behind a paywall. I'll give you the source code once you pay for it. But the GPL has to give you the right to modify that code, redistribute that code. And when they have this separate agreement that says you can't redistribute the code, then it becomes a tricky legal situation, because technically they're not violating the GPL, but the second agreement is kind of violating the spirit of the GPL by saying, no, you can't redistribute the code now. If you do, we're going to cut you off from all support and updates, and we're basically just going to ban you from.
Yeah, like for example,
to enforce it. Are they going to get the Microsoft police to enforce it?
That's another thing. I don't know how they would enforce that, because how would you know who shared the source code?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's maybe they have their ways, but like yesterday, I bought a copy of. Okay, it was expensive, but I got a discount. I got Sublime Merge. Sublime Merge is like Giddy Up, like GitHub app on Linux, but it's much simpler. It's a very light application because it's by the people who created Sublime Text. And I got a license for Sublime Text, lifetime license for Sublime Text for free. I don't know why, but
No,
they gave me a license.
Yeah, because Sublime Text isn't cheap.
No, they're both not cheap. They're $99 a pop.
Right.
But I got a discount. I got it for $88.
Oh, okay.
But they threw in a license for Sublime Text, but it's limited to R4. So when they move to version 5, the license will expire. So it won't work.
And I've always wondered, Sublime Text used to be like the most popular text editor in IDE years ago, but ever since the rise of VS Code, and then you had Atom, which was a clone, a straight up clone of Sublime Text that was free, and then
but
of course,
but much heavier than Sublime.
And then you got the real nerds that use things like Vim and Emacs, and it's like, who in the hell's going to pay $100 for Sublime Text when you got all this free stuff out there?
Well, yeah, because everything free out there supports plugins just the way, and even better than Sublime Text.
Oh yeah, you can't compare the plugins for Sublime with VS Code, and damn sure you can't compare the plugins with Vim and Emacs, right? I mean,
I think the only reason some people still like Sublime Text is because it's very light. It's like it's feather light.
Well, it's not an Electron app, which Atom and VS Code were.
Yeah,
Electron.
So it's feather light, and I was happy when they threw in the license for Sublime Text, but Sublime Merge is amazing. It's featherlight, just like Sublime Text, and I can git push, git pull, see differences, differential files, and revert back to different git commits, all from within the IDE. A very simple IDE, and the same thing with Synergy. I don't know if you heard of Synergy, the thing that connects one mouse, one keyboard to multiple computers.
Yeah, I have.
They just upgraded me to version 2, Synergy version 2, for free. Synergy Pro for free. I received an email. They were like, "We upgraded your license to work on Synergy 2." I was like, "I haven't used that thing in like 10 years because there's free open source versions of."
That's the thing. Being proprietary software, you kind of lock yourself into the dangers of Sublime Text maybe dying eventually one day. Yeah. And then what do you do if you were heavily invested in
Sublime Merge? Sublime Merge, I don't think it will die because there's a lot of people with potato laptops.
I was putting that out there for maybe people watching the chat. Because you get this a lot with people that get invested in proprietary software and then it dies and then they don't know what the hell to do because you can't fork the code because it was licensed under proprietary. Like you can't go forward with it. You have to move to something else at that point.
That's the reason I brought up Sublime Text is because it's also open source. They have their code on GitHub. They have a Git repository.
Well, they may have their code, but unless it's licensed under a free license.
I don't know. I didn't look at.
I'm sure it's not because I would have heard about that by now.
When I saw they were giving us access to their code on GitHub, I didn't look at the license.
Well, typically what these companies will do with proprietary software, because they know open source is kind of a big deal, what they'll do is they'll open source the code for their past version. Not the one they're on right now, but the older version. We'll go ahead and throw that up on GitHub. You can go look at the old code, but you can't look at the code for this version. It's typically what they'll do.
But Sublime Text hasn't been updated in like a year and a half now. It's been on version 4143 for like a year. No, 2022, 2 years. Almost 2 years.
Well, that's what your hard-earned money goes for.
Well, I just loved Sublime Merge. And I didn't want to use because Sublime Merge is not like Sublime Text. You can use it for free forever. Sublime Text, you can use it for free forever. You don't have any limitations. The only annoying thing about Sublime Text is if you save too many times in a single session, it will pop up. Remember, this is not free software. But with that pop-up, with Sublime Merge, the limitations are acceleration. You cannot select dark mode. You cannot do anything, barely.
And when it comes to paid software, I don't mind paying for really good software. I'll happily pay for especially really good free and open source software. I'd love to pay for it. What I don't like is subscription models. Don't make me subscribe to a piece of software.
Like I got widgets, a widgets app on my iPhone because I love widgets. It's called Widgie. $5 a month.
Yeah.
$5 a month. I'm like, excuse me. Well, I understand why it's $5 a month because they have to pay for the services, for the tokens that they use for weather updates and Twitter updates, and they have to pay for that.
Yeah.
Somehow. I was like, why don't you charge one time? Charge $5, $10 once. Just don't charge us $5 a month. But unfortunately, the services they pay for are monthly recurrent. So yeah,
you get a lot of that. Anything that requires like a subscription to an API, that and if they've got to pay for data, they're going to pass that cost on to you. That's normal.
Like this is what's happening with Reddit now right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Reddit is in a big I don't know how to put it better than that, in big caca land.
Yeah, but Reddit.
LTG did a whole video on that.
Yeah.
One of the things about Reddit, though, is like, are that many people really going to pay for the Reddit API? Like, what is on Reddit that is really important that you need to see? Like, even like the Linux subreddits, which are fantastic, the Linux support subreddits, you know what? Stack Exchange still out there. I can go get my answers off of that, like for free. What the hell do I need Reddit for?
Reddit's just another edition. Yeah, Reddit's another edition of the media bullshit.
What I hated about Reddit, I was going to I created a Reddit community for Zero Linux. As soon as I finished creating it, I got banned, insta banned, shadow banned, whatever you want to call it.
Why did you get banned?
No, you know why? Because my location is Lebanon. They don't like people from Lebanon opening Reddit.
Are you serious?
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
A lot of companies are, yeah.
They shadow ban you the instant you create the account because you created it from a location that's not favorable to them.
Could be, yeah. It could also be local laws in your country that.
No, we don't have laws against these.
You don't have laws against
it? Dude. Here.
Well, you don't have power, so most people can't be on the internet anyway.
You don't care. Why care about such things when you don't have power?
I can't surf the internet anyway. Why would they care?
No, there are websites, local websites hosted by AUB. AUB stands for American University of Beirut. You know when you have government related websites like .gov, .us or for us is .lb for Lebanon. They're all hosted locally on servers at the AUB. It's in Beirut. They're all locally hosted. Some of them take advantage and they host pirated movies over there.
Well, of course. If I had access to university servers, heck yeah, I would put all kinds of all my music.
Especially that the connection is bad over here. So how are you going to download a multi-gigabyte game if it wasn't local?
You know how much porn would be on those servers?
I can imagine.
Especially at a university, right?
And the worst part of it is, I know in the U.S. when you're in a university, you have rules and regulations. They lock down the computers. You don't have access to this. You don't have access to that. Here, no such thing.
It's not as tight as you think. I mean,
no,
I work at a college, and
in some colleges,
it varies, but some of them are a little more open with.
Here they don't have that. You go, it's a regular computer. You turn it on, you log in. They give you a student login, and you have your own desktop where.
You see, that's actually a violation of privacy, having to log in. You know, Richard Stallman would not be okay with having to log in to use that computer.
Yeah, well, they have to log in with their student ID, and once they log in, they have access to virtually anything except porn websites. And they have fiber optics in the university, so they can download multi-gigabyte games over there.
As a matter of fact, now that I think about it, Richard Stallman also would not like the Red Hat thing where you have to create an account. He wouldn't mind paying for software, but creating an account to get the software, he would have a serious problem with that as well.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the news or hot takes.
Yeah. You should not have to identify yourself to buy a piece of software and get the software.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to
I'm
identify
Jimmy
yourself. That's
too.
true. And
I'm
which
China.
brings me to a point. One of the users DM'd me on my server. He was like, "Are you ever going to enable metrics, or what's it called?
Telemetry.
Telemetry on
Telemetry,
your distro, hardware telemetry, so you know how many users are using Zero Linux and how many have NVIDIA versus how many have AMD." I was like, heck no. Optional for the user. It's there in KDE. They can enable it.
Yeah, and it's really hard to get those numbers anyway, because I've heard people
because
that,
some of them install it and then uninstall it, and
because I've talked to plenty of people that worked at Canonical, and even they don't really know how many machines are out there running Ubuntu, because even if they're hitting the repositories, pinging the repositories, they don't know if those are real machines, virtual machines. As far as ISO downloads, somebody could download the ISO one time and then clone it 100 times. You don't, like, keeping a count of users is virtually impossible, even for like the big corporations that are trying to track that.
Like for example, I have my ISO on SourceForge to keep an eye on how many downloads, but does that tell you how many real people downloaded and installed it, or they just downloaded, put it on a USB and never used it again?
Most people are downloading it and never installing it on a real machine, and then some people are downloading it one time and installing it on 1,000 machines. Right?
So I'm like, this is just to give me an idea. And last month, for example, on the previous release, I had in 1 month 10,000 downloads in 1 month. I don't know versus installs. I don't know, but I know that 10,000 people downloaded it in 1 month. This release, only 5,000, half of that, because I switched to Cappuccino. Cappuccino is not a rice that everybody likes.
You really think it was Cappuccino that did that?
What?
You really think it was Cappuccino that did that?
Because all the previous releases where I used different rices, more fresh looking rices, they got around 8,000 to 10,000 downloads each. This is the lowest I had, and the only thing that changed was Cappuccino.
Well, that may be also why the downloads were, if not much has changed, then a lot of people might just skip a release.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah. But Alex, there are new versions of GNOME and XFCE already.
And the Xmonad edition is coming really soon.
You're in the list. You're on the list.
No need to look at them. No need to look at them, because all I did was add Albert to them. That's it.
Oh. I'm actually looking at a very interesting distro that was sent to me to look at. That's actually a AI and assistant enabled embedded desktop.
Oh, really? What's it called?
You have to watch the video. It'll be dropping.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't have spoilers.
No. It's the dev. He's in my Discord. But
Hisham's Leah.
No. This is way out there, man. And he's literally embedded an actual assistant that activates via microphone. You wake it up just like you do Amazon's device, only it's a different name, and you actually launch applications with it. You can execute system updates with it.
Recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for disaster.
That is what he said. Him and I talked about that. And one of the interesting things is he actually created his AI model on his own server, and he uses Vox, which is the same voice recognition.
Hunter
software.
in the chat figured it out. It's Cortana Linux.
Nope, it is not Cortana Linux. But anyhow, it uses Vox services the same as Siri and Google Assistant.
Oh, dude, you need a powerful machine to use that then.
Wow.
Actually, it's not a powerful machine that he built.
How many people would want Google Assistant for their Linux distribution, though? I mean,
no. It's he's saying it's built on the same model, but not.
Oh, okay.
It's not. It's built on the same model. It's not that same model. It's a similar.
Yeah, because if you put Google anything on a Linux distro, it's a recipe for disaster. People yell and scream.
No.
Well, they're not going to yell and scream, but they'll probably just largely ignore it.
He's actually put a bunch of work into it, and done a really great job with it, actually. I mean, honestly, when it comes to AI on my desktop, I approach it with a ton of caution. We all know that, man, as you should, right?
Ton of caution.
You really, really should, man. But it's kind of fun to play with. And whether we like it or not, AI is coming. Period.
Yeah. No. If you watch my latest video, Alex, I did mention that there are times where my brain is tangled in such a mess. I use ChatGPT to create my script.
I did catch that. I did watch that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and he's got that embedded in it too as well. And he's also got, oh God, it's so much embedded.
It's based on what? Arch?
No, it's based off Debian.
Debian.
And it's so much embedded into it that if I actually did the full video start to finish on it, it literally would be about an hour and a half to show you the 4 different concepts of it. Okay, so I'm having to break it up into a couple of part series.
Yeah, I would imagine you would want a stable distribution for something like this, especially.
I think that was the smartest thing he did was to do it off.
Yeah,
Debian. But he's always based his distributions off Debian.
Oh, that's cool. I would like to test that. Did it work well in a VM? Because I would like to test that in a VM.
Absolutely. I'll offline. I'll send you the message.
Okay. Because I'm interested. I have Debian 12 in a VM that I keep up to date, and of course, everything that these hands touch uses the same rice as my main system. So all my virtual machines, I'd even turn Manjaro into Zero Linux. I turn everything into Zero Linux. Everything.
When we're gonna get a Zero Linux AI edition?
Yeah, it's gonna use.
Well, actually, I was going to tell you, there's actually a tool in there that he's added also for ricing that is pretty sweet too. So you might want to take a look at that. It might give you a little inspiration.
KDE ricing? KDE. What desktop environment does it use?
No,
Have you asked ChatGPT to create a rice yet? Just to see if.
Yes. Some of the commands in my rice install scripts are via ChatGPT, of course.
Well, I'm having an annoying bug with Xmonad and Xmobar. I can't get to figure the toggle struts out, like to hide the bar and have proper full screen display.
Oh, I can send you what you need on that. That's an easy solution.
I tried various things. I piped it into ChatGPT-4, the better model, and I couldn't get it figured out.
You have to formulate the question correctly.
I know the command is avoid struts, but I'll give you the full code to. But I'll just link you to one of my configs.
Well, I just thought like AI generated code is great as long as it works until it doesn't.
Exactly.
The problem with something like that, though, is like there's so many versions of these Haskell libraries. They get updated all the time. Yeah. You may get old information. It may give you something that's already out of date.
Yeah, that's where I'm very careful with ChatGPT. Like the Wayland script that I spent 16 hours on, 90% of it was written by ChatGPT. But I spent why did I spend so long on it? Is because I wasn't formulating my question correctly. Because if you don't formulate it correctly, it's going to give you a working output, but not in the correct order.
I noticed that about when I was playing with this to test out the different AI things. You have to be very specific in the way you ask things.
Yes, very, very,
very close attention as to what its output is. Because in one of the things that I asked it took what I said and actually combined them together to make it like hybrid.
No, don't. It shouldn't do that. You have to be very careful because if you don't tell it exactly in what order you want the commands to be, it's gonna give you the commands. Here's how you do. Okay, this does that, and it will explain. This does that. This does this. But it's in such a bad order. Like when it created the script for me, it was like, if NVIDIA detected, then this, and if no NVIDIA detected, then the same thing. I was like, no, I wanted to do one thing if it's NVIDIA, and then totally other thing if no NVIDIA is detected. So you have to formulate the question word for word correctly, And you have to indicate in your question the order of things, because it's not smart enough to know in what order you want things.
All right. So,
thanks, DC.
Stefan, I gave you a link to one of my configs. I have 2 key bindings. One is Super Space, which just makes a single window full screen, which it doesn't hide the bar. It hides the bar, but it just makes that window full screen. You won't see the bar. That's typically the one I use, but I also have one for Super Shift Space. No, Super Shift B. I can't find it in the config right now. It's a lot of key bindings.
You just do RG rip grep.
But if you find the key binding for Super Shift B, that is, I see it. Toggle bar show and hide, and it was toggle struts was the name of the command.
I was right struts. Okay. Yeah. I used toggle struts, but I didn't import the avoid struts in the header. I have to try that out. Thanks for the point.
Now toggle struts, if you're doing gaps with the windows, you're still going to have the gaps. So it's going to be weird if you're using gaps. So just
yeah, I'm using gaps.
Yes, that's the problem.
Yeah,
the gaps mess it up.
Speaking of gaps and tiling, there's a new KDE plugin or Plasmoid or Kwin plugin that takes advantage of the new tiling thing for the tiling thing for KDE. It uses the same engine, but it gives you more features. It's in the works. Nicolo talked about it. I forgot the name of it, but it's interesting. It has bugs, of course. KDE without bugs is not normal. But it uses the same. It uses the same engine as the one that KDE devs created, but it adds more features.
As I'm looking at you, what is it that you need us to read in the chat?
Oh, what?
Oh, well, I don't know.
See chat. Where is chat? Oh, there's chat.
I don't know. Somebody was asking, do we read the chat? But he never asked a question before that, so I don't know what he was.
I scrolled up. I didn't see it either. So
yeah.
But yeah, KDE is getting better and better and better. And the thing that I don't get sometimes is I can have a KDE install for 2 years without having any deal-breaking issues or a fresh install worthy issue. A lot of other people, Matt, have issues where KDE is unusable.
How?
Has anybody here used KDE 6? What do they think of it?
I wanted to test because KOS they include the preview of the 6.
I will say KDE for me has always been an issue on NVIDIA machines. I
have an NVIDIA. I didn't have any issues.
I have the Kwin crashes, but they're like behind the scenes. I don't even notice.
Yeah, so that's always been an issue.
That is odd. I haven't had a Kwin crash in a year, and a half.
I didn't ever have any crashes.
Well, it's in the notification thing. I like right now. Let me check.
You will see a lot of complaints with people using KDE, and it's probably one of the most common things you'll see is for NVIDIA and KDE.
That's the thing. I've been using it for the same install for a year.
I'm not saying it happens to everybody, but it happens to a lot of people. You'll hear a lot.
To a lot of people, and I do. And I'm a distro maintainer, so I mess with it more than the normal Joe, the average Joe. So, and I haven't had it completely crashed with the exception of Wayland, of course. But I'm talking about X11, and on X11 with the I'm not saying it's bug free, but those bugs are not deal breaking. Like I get a little bit.
But with you too, you're maintaining your own distro, and you've got a lot of custom settings.
Yeah.
So your KDE is not the KDE that they're shipping out of the box.
Maybe.
That's probably
but the only thing I do is write it and disable some services. That's it.
Yeah. But you know how these bugs are. Sometimes what causes these things, you'd never guess it.
Yeah.
It could be the weirdest thing that.
Yeah, sometimes I try to log into my desktop. It just, like, for example, I have a small annoying bug with SDDM where it's not showing me the wallpaper. It's a white SDDM. It's a complete white thing.
Yeah,
I apply the wallpaper. It works, for a few days. Then suddenly, because I use auto login because I'm the only one who uses this computer.
I've had mine switch from my selected theme to the default one randomly before.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
for me it's a blank white wallpaper, but I don't care much because I use auto login, so I don't mind.
I just hope KDE 6 doesn't turn into the crap
well, I
show
don't
that
have
4
high hopes.
was.
People have asked me a lot because since I'm a KDE fanboy, asked me, "What do you think KDE 6 will be? Will it be amazing? Will it be?" I was like, "I don't have high hopes for.
Yeah.
I have regular hopes that they're
I
gonna
think-
fix a few things, have a few new features. That's it."
I think GNOME and KDE learned their lessons from about 12 years ago when GNOME made the switch from 2 to 3 and KDE made their switch from 3 to 4, and they were both complete disasters to the point where the reason we have so many desktop environments now are because of that episode. Because overnight you had Unity, Cinnamon, Budgie, like all these new desktop environments that were created because GNOME and KDE were unusable. Seriously unusable.
Lowen has a question in the YouTube chat.
I was just getting ready to say the same thing.
I did it before you. No.
Do you think open source software would be in the same sweet spot as it is today without the money of companies that produce and maintain proprietary software? Well, I mean, obviously, probably the biggest contributor to Linux as far as the Linux kernel and the Linux Foundation is Google. Google makes billions of dollars off of Linux. So they're not donating money to Linux out of the goodness of their heart. Google makes a boatload of money off of Linux and free and open source software. So they should contribute to it. That's not... if I was making a whole bunch of money off of free and open source software, I would want to actually make sure to contribute to the stuff that makes me money, right? Like I use pieces of software every day, like Kdenlive and OBS, things like that. I give money to those guys, right? And why wouldn't I? I depend on their product. If their product went away, it would seriously hurt me. Naturally, you should support the things that, in the end are good for you. So, yeah, the Linux kernel is almost entirely funded by Google and Microsoft and Meta and all those big proprietary software companies.
This is a big subject because what about us small distro maintainers? We give for free, and when we ask for money, we're attacked.
Well, you and anybody that does anything with Linux that helps to promote it in the community, I personally feel like we're doing our job to help make Linux better. And when you ask,
and when we put donation buttons all over the place, we get attacked for it.
Well, that's
I did. I had a comment on one of my videos say, "Why are you begging for money?" I said, first off, I'm retired. I'm not begging. You know what I'm saying? I'm 2 steps away from being in the Philippines sipping on Mai Tais under a palm tree. You know what I'm saying? So I don't get this thing, but there's money that goes into maintaining distros, to creating videos, to writing code, all that stuff. So and they just use it for free, and they think it means free as in price tag, but it's free as in freedom, because as with freedom, true freedom, it didn't come free. It was paid with the price of blood.
Well, with money and blood and sweat and tears.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is,
so they forget that concept. And when you try to remind them nicely, it almost offends them, which is a weird thing to me.
We shouldn't
people
have
have
to
problems
be defending it. We shouldn't have to be defending it.
There's been Linux distributions, though, large Linux distributions that ask for money. There's several big distributions I can think of. When you go and download their ISO, they ask you to make a donation before they'll give you the link to the ISO. You don't have to give a donation. You can decline, but they ask up front, hey, would you like to give us some money for actually making this thing? And I've heard people complain about that, and I was like, why are you complaining about, how much work the makers of name whatever distribution that does that. There's several out there that do that. They put in a ton of work for free. At the begining, they would like something in return eventually.
Yeah, and
you have a question in the chat by Hadaz.
I'm going to comment first to say, okay, ask a person if they ask why you asking for money. Say, hey, are you going to go to work and work for free for 8 hours?
Bingo.
Bingo.
No.
Time is money. Your time is money. No matter who you are, no matter what you do, your time is
and
money.
it's actually, it goes a step further than that. I've gotten to the point in my life that I don't go to work for anyone for less than a certain amount of money. It's not just I got to get paid. I got to get paid something that's worth me giving up my time, because time has become very precious to me, to where I don't have a lot of it. I don't have a lot of free time, and if I'm going to give up the little bit of free time I have, you're going to have to cough up some money. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to say no.
And some of us, there was another thing that was brought up was like, okay, we're a team of 4 people. Don't you want that team to grow? I was like, I would love the team to grow, but if I offer people to come and work for Zero Linux and help it grow, the first thing that's going to come out of their mouth, what's my share?
Mm-hmm.
How much do I get paid?
One of the key things in business, to DT's point, is when you establish a business, I've had a few, the first thing you have to do is you have to assess the market of what you're doing business in and know your value. Know exactly what your services or products are going to be worth to the public that are going to be purchasing or using them from you. And that's where you set your bar. So if you know your value, then you're asking for money right from the get-go. So what is wrong with that? If people expect to go to McDonald's and buy a burger for X amount of prices because they knew their value and they set that price. What's the difference between us asking that? None.
Yeah. And in my case, I didn't set a value. It's whatever you want from $5 onwards, because $5 is the minimum on Ko-Fi.
Even easier in my mind.
Well, I tell you how I would handle a situation where if I was starting a piece of free and open source software and other people wanted to contribute to it, help work on it, make it better, and they were wondering about money, I'd be like, well, I'm going to put it out there that I'm working on this thing, and I'm going to ask for money. I'm going to set up PayPal links, Patreon, or whatever for myself. Hey, you go out and hustle for money for the work you're doing on this project as well. I got, like, why? Yeah, I'm not doing a whole lot of getting out there and trying to scrape up money for other people, right? That's not. I'm going to hustle for me. You go hustle for yourself. That's what I did.
That's what I did. I was like, okay. For people who offer to work on Zero Linux, my way of giving back is they will once they're firmly part of the team, they will be allowed to put their own PayPals and their own donation links on the website.
There are plenty of big open source projects out there where you've got multiple developers and they're all asking for money in their own ways. They all have their own. It's like. The people that want you to go out there and do everything and to make all this money, and then, hey, would you share some of it? It's like, no, that's not the way this is going to work at all.
No, it doesn't work that way, because that creates enemies.
Hey, would you do all the work and then give me some of it?
Yeah, no, but that method makes enemies, because they don't know how much you're making. And when you give them, if you agreed on 5%, 10%, whatever, they don't know how much you're making, so they think that you're giving them less than what they're entitled to, and that creates animosity in the team. So each and every person add their own donation, their way of donating.
And at the end of the day, if you want to work on something, hey, work on it for a little while. It's nice to add something to your resume. If you eventually want to work on other projects, go to work for a company like it. There's benefits to it other than the money, but even the money, if you want to try to monetize your work on a piece of open source software in some way, go for it. But you can't depend on, you can't think somebody else is going to go hustle for money.
I am going to say this up front. I'm going to say that I'm very thankful for the community that surrounds Zero Linux, because I never wake up. Why do you? I suddenly feel there's something in my throat called Josh. Anyway, joking aside, what I wanted to say is I never wake up.
Hey, your mic is all jacked up, Josh.
Oh, is it?
Well, now it's working.
Him and Steve were becoming one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It was
Sorry,
weird.
but I wanted to say that there's no morning I wake up. I don't have a message with Stripe from Stripe. Every morning I wake up, there's a message from Stripe. You have $5, $10, $15, $30, $5, $12, whatever. Every morning I wake up, there's some amount of money that's coming to my account. So I'm thankful for that.
I was gonna say that's a good problem to be having.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you're waking up every morning to $5 or $10, that's not
enough.
That's not a lot of money, right? That's not.
No, but I'm thankful that because otherwise there's no income. There's zero. Anything is better than nothing. But that's not enough. I'm not even like last month. I have a monthly goal of 500 euros to pay the bill. So I reached 75% of that last month, but this month I'm still stuck at 12. So they're not gonna pay the bills, but I'm leaving that bank account. I'm forgetting about it for now because I'm hoping by next year April, because I need to go on not pilgrimage, but I don't know what they call it. It's for Easter, Lent.
Yeah.
In Greece, because it's the Orthodox capital here in the Mediterranean. So I want to go celebrate it there. So I'm hoping I could put money from that aside to be able to pay for it, because the ticket is $250.
Well,
so
I'm getting my passport, so I'll just come and join you.
Yeah.
Hey, Zero Linux, he's asking in the chat, Hads was asking, since you're from Lebanon, do you know any false communities in the Arab world? Any free and open source software communities? I don't know if he's talking about like Linux user groups or...
There are three, there's already 3 people I know on my server who are from Lebanon. And there's a free open source community in Dubai, Abu Dhabi. There's a free open source community in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, but the only problem is I hate Arabic so much. If it's in Arabic, I don't read it. I don't bother with it.
No.
If it's in English or French, I'm okay with it. But if it's Arabic, I have a sensitivity to that, because I even because in Lebanon you have to learn Arabic. You have to have Arabic courses. Arabic grammar and all that. I escaped all those courses all my life. I never attended those courses, so because I hate the language. I don't know why, but I have a sensitivity to that.
I did the same thing with English.
Yeah, so I have a sensitivity to it for some reason. I can read it, no problem, but don't ask me to write.
No.
But yeah, there's a lot of free open source communities, and Zero Linux was reviewed by some of them on YouTube. Egypt. It was reviewed in Egypt. It was reviewed in Saudi Arabia. It was reviewed in Dubai. Zero Linux was reviewed globally. Portugal, Philippines, mostly Portugal.
I think that article. I think the article that put you in the top 5, and you were number 1.
Maybe, but and Brazil and
India,
Pakistan.
What about Finland?
Finland, no. I know France. There's a couple of French Linux Linux YouTubers.
Brazil really surprised me, because there are a lot of distributions that come out of Brazil, and all of them are good except for one.
Oh, yes.
She said all of them are good except for one.
Yeah.
I know the one you're probably talking about.
What?
Yeah,
BROS? Bros? What's it called?
No. I haven't tried that one.
Linux FX.
The Linux FX one, the Windows clone is the one he's talking about. Yeah.
No, there's one called BOS.
No, I did a Regatta OS comes out of there. There's Big Linux that comes out of
Big
there.
Linux, that's the one. Linux.
There's a lot of good Linuxes that come out of Brazil.
Yeah,
so
I'm working.
For them to pick up your distro and review it, that's saying something.
I'm trying to get in contact with the maintainer of Big Linux, because his welcome app is
badass.
Delicious.
It is badass. It really is
badass. Yeah, and it's an Electron app. Are you
for real? It's an Electron app?
Yeah, of course. It's he's a web developer. He's a web developer. I talked to him. I talked to him already on the Calamaris group. Because he's on the Calamaris group.
Yeah.
But I want to talk to him, and I want to see if he can help me make my welcome app better, because Dark Synapse is currently way too busy to concentrate on the update of the thing. So I'm thinking of dropping it with him. I want to see if I can work with the maintainer of Big Linux, because his app is just too amazing.
And one of the coolest welcome apps I've seen was is it KOS? Chaos?
No,
they have one that's written in Qt. No, that thing's amazing.
Yeah,
it's one of the bad ones.
I didn't think it was that great.
Oh, that thing is pretty sharp,
dude.
You don't need Electron. You just need to.
No, well, I want to make it in GTK, but I don't know anyone who works in GTK except you, DT, if you're willing.
I mean, I could do something with GTK and Python or GTK and Haskell,
but the thing with KOS welcome app, it's if you want to install multiple applications, you have go to the section, check the applications, go back, select from another section, go back, and then hit install. Go back, forth, back.
Oh, you don't like the navigation through the steps there? Okay, I could see. But I thought it was nice that they offer.
It takes too many clicks.
That's, one of the things.
That's a personal thing. But.
Well, no, it's also you got a point when you're developing like a GTK app or a Qt app. It's the UI, the user experience. Sometimes it can be clunky because a lot of people, especially on these welcome apps, they try to fit so much stuff in it.
Yeah,
and then to navigate through all that stuff sometimes is a little weird.
Like, for example, in the Zero Linux welcome app, there is an issue that we cannot figure out because the main developer of that app from CachyOS, I asked him to help recently. He said, I can help you, but I don't want to. So, okay.
That was honest.
That's the Linux community for you.
But anyway, that's the response I often give people. Yeah, I could, but I'm not going to.
He created the damn thing. He created it. But he refuses to help. Anyway, there's a problem with it where when you go to the Flatpaks and to install Flatpaks from the list, or a curated list, it will install the Flatpaks, but it will not show you which ones are installed versus the ones that are not installed. So it will leave them all unchecked. Whereas if you when you go to the local binary section, it will check the ones that are already installed. It will show you that what is installed versus what is not installed. But for Flatpaks, because of the package names, org dot blah 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 blah, it's very difficult to do that. I am not a developer, so I need someone to help me to figure that part out. Because otherwise, the tool works just fine. I have updated it, and now we have a cool section called various tweaks.
That's one thing Flatpak needs to fix. That
their naming structure, absolutely.
Well, they can leave the problem is they just need to put everything in the right folders. They need to rename with some symlinks, even though I complain about symlinks. Like I shouldn't have to type org.com.name of package.
You don't have to anymore. I should never need to do. Not anymore. Not always. There are some apps, for example, OBS. You can just type Flatpak run OBS. It will figure out that you're trying to run whatever OBS. Because I think that what they're doing now is they're capitalizing the part that you can just type to run the app. If you look at the package name com dot whatever, at the end of it there's the name in capitals. If you type Flatpak run the part that is in capital, I tried it multiple times. It works. It finds it on your system and it works. You don't have to type the whole thing. And the other thing with Flatpaks, icon create people who create icon themes in their package, they have icons, PNGs or SVGs, sorry, named com dot whatever to go for the with the Flatpak.
Yeah, I just did a Flatpak list and I noticed it had a theme in the Flatpak.
Yeah, you see the capital letters at the end of all the names.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm about to trigger everybody because I went ahead and I looked at the Zero Linux GitHub page and I looked at the Zero Welcome tool and I see that there's commits where it says rewrite in Rust. So therefore, this guy right here will not help you.
Oh yeah, it's written in Rust. Yeah.
Because I don't like Rust.
Well, now it's gonna. Well, did you guys know? Speaking of Rust, did you guys know that Rust is being destroyed from within?
What?
It's always being destroyed with.
Well, Rust always decays, you know.
And
Yeah, I was gonna say.
every programming language, once it becomes popular, always has infighting.
No, yeah, now because
no, there's huge drama online. I've been on Twitch.
yeah, I've watched a video. Dude,
Holy
it was-
moly!
They're talking about a group that hate Rust so much, the bureaucracy and everything that's happening behind Rust. They created their own fork of Rust. They called it Crablang.
No, that's going to be successful.
Yeah, that's it's like it's Rust minus the drama. So I'm like,
Crablang. It sounds like a venereal disease.
yeah, Crablang.
Yeah. You don't want to catch that.
You don't want to catch crabs, yeah.
Speaking of getting infected, I was watching an episode of Voyager before I came on. It was all about this goo infecting thingy buzzards thingy. I was like,
oh, so Star Trek had a yeast infection.
Yeah. No, it reminded me of how Rust is being infected from within.
Yep.
So yeah, I do read the news in Linux. People accuse me of not reading the news in Linux and not being interested in anything except Zero Linux. No, I am, and I do watch videos, especially Brody, because Brody has a good way of throwing information out there, and I like the twist he adds on top. The Rust. I sent him the Rust video. He's gonna make a video about it, but don't know when. He's taking his time. But it's I'm up to date when it comes to Linux. I did say once, and I got attacked for it, and I deserve it. This is a well-deserved attack. I said window managers suck, and I got attacked for it. I shouldn't have said that. At least not that way.
I'm offended.
Well, it depends on the window manager.
Yeah, I should have explained.
You know,
but,
I'm running Stump the PM perfectly fine here.
No,
because there have been a couple of window managers that I took some real shots at because they were just
crazy
bad.
I generalized, and I shouldn't have generalized because the good guys, or at least Zany, threw a challenge at us over at Matt's podcast, something called Crunch Bang Plus Plus.
Crunch Bang, right.
Yes, I started that.
Yeah, OpenBox is fantastic. OpenBox is definitely not a bad window manager.
No.
Yeah.
It lasted for 5 minutes on my SSD. I wiped it 5 minutes later.
Yep.
I don't like window managers as a whole. They get They get on my nerves. I have to learn the language to use a freaking window manager.
You shouldn't have to learn a language for OpenBox.
Hey, no, you don't.
Yeah,
it's configured in XML.
You
It's
just learn how to
XML.
right-click.
That's a language.
No, that's more syntax than a language.
Yeah, it's not. It's barely a language. I mean, it's
not like I can barely write Bash. I use ChatGPT to write Bash scripts. I want to.
Well, XML is a lot easier to work with than Bash. I mean,
Yep.
Once you realize that everything that opens also closes in XML, it actually does start to make some amount of sense.
Yeah.
No, window manager is not for me. I'm a desktop environment
GUI
kind of guy, and this SSD will never be formatted. This will never be formatted. It has GNOME on it, and I love GNOME. Just don't get me close near Nautilus, because Nautilus is the worst file manager in existence.
Why do you love KDE more than you love GNOME?
Because global menu.
Well, I do like global menus.
Yeah. It's really
That's
good.
one. That's one.
Because Steve is in the last month and a half has now been sporting GNOME more and more and more, and I'm just trying to figure out why.
Yeah, I'll explain why. Because it's because I'm not using any themes on there. I'm not customizing it. It's 0G. It's vanilla GNOME basically with a different wallpaper and one icon theme. But The reason I like GNOME is because when I want to mess with Wayland, I can without having a fuss. And when I want to do some serious work, it will not crash on me like not crash. It will not bug me with small annoying bugs every left and right. KDE has a lot of small annoying bugs, but not crash worthy. They don't crash. Nothing crashes on me. But some things get annoying when you just want to get some work done.
Now, for me, I hate wasted space, like that top panel in GNOME. If they just do something with that panel, instead of just having it an empty panel, like what's the point of having just a black bar that's empty at the top of your desktop environment?
You can
put something in that damn thing, or either get rid of it.
Install a million extensions. Yeah, like
the panel. I just don't get. I don't know what they're thinking having that panel there.
That's why in 0G it's. On 0G in the top panel, I have the CPU usage, the RAM usage, the internet speed. I brought back the system tray because they hid everything in this drop down for whatever reason, and they don't do anything in the drop down. They just
add some quick launchers instead of having that dash come up at the bottom or the side. Have your quick launchers in that panel. You got the panel there anyway.
Bottom right, the dash the dot. Get rid
of
it.
And if you want to use a global panel, global menu, there's something called Vala panel, but it's more for XFCE than GNOME. But don't use it on GNOME.
Oh, I have tried the XFCE global panel. It is not good. It's
the global menu on XFCE. It's not great, but it mimics Mac more than a global menu on anything else, because if you have an empty desktop with no windows open, you still have the menu up top. You can access your settings. You can access very limited things from that global menu. But I left it in there on 0 XFCE because it's the only global menu that exists for XFCE, for the XFCE panel. Because I didn't want to opt to use anything that's non-XFCE. I wanted stability above all else. So I was like, I even use libadwaita dark on XFCE. I don't install any third-party theme because it just works. But I needed a global menu. I cannot live without a global menu. GNOME, I put up with it because I don't do anything that requires a global menu on GNOME. I just do everything in the terminal.
I think global menu is important too. I feel the same.
Yeah, and we reworked. Oh, by the way, this is big news. We reworked all our RICEs. Zero Linux reworked all their RICEs from the ground up. From the ground up.
Okay, so I would like to interject for a moment here and immediately
interject.
Everybody.
Inject
me. I would like to disagree with everybody because I think that the GNOME panel is fine. It does everything it's supposed to do. Because what's the purpose of a panel is to give you
what does it do? Nothing.
It has the clock in the center. That's the only thing it does. It gives you the clock.
So that way
it gives you the clock, the drop down. That's it.
Yeah.
It gives you the clock.
It does one thing and one thing.
It'll notify you if you're connected to a VPN, and it'll tell you if you're connected to a Wi-Fi or a wired network.
That's it.
Does pSensor automatically display on it if you install pSensor?
On the GNOME panel?
Yeah, on the GNOME panel. If you install pSensor, does it automatically show up on the
I use something similar. I forgot the name of it. It's an extension. Yeah, it shows.
Yeah, pSensor doesn't work on KDE properly. So
no, but yeah, pSensor doesn't work correctly on KDE.
No, you can't. You can't put it. You can't install it and just.
It will show an icon, but it's not going to show the.
Yeah, that's the whole reason I like it. I don't want to have to.
Oh, if you want it, you can make it show everything, but you have to add the plasmoids. It comes.
Oh, you have to do things like you have to do with window.
Yeah, it has its own widget.
You have to work at it a little bit.
It has when you install pSensor, it includes its own widgets. You just add widgets to your panel, and there you go.
Okay.
If you want a global menu, I mean, the Unity desktop really did the global menu right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Unity
I'm
still
sick. Oh.
Well, it's being worked on, but I would love to use Unity, but Unity on Arch is not
No, don't try it
That's
on
not-
Arch. Don't,
that's not
don't
good.
try it on
Unity,
Arch.
period. Yeah.
Unity,
Oh, that was my
No,
favorite
but-
desktop environment back in the day.
But
I
Bob,
hated it.
no,
I hated it.
No, they did everything the right way,
I just didn't
in
like
my
the
opinion.
vision. I
I
didn't
don't
They
like the panel on the left side of the
On the
monitor.
left-
It needed to be on the left. The left-hand side makes sense for everything. They put the buttons, the window decorations on the left. They put the panel on the left. They put the search button on the left. The dash was on the left. And your mouse never traveled outside of that one little area of the screen, and it was
True.
just gorgeous.
But
That was how ergonomics and how you respect people's wrists, so they're not traveling with the mouse up and down, right and left. They just put everything in one part of the screen, and you never had to move that damn mouse.
Funny thing is, that if,
speaking of which,
if
Papa
you
OS's
yourself on
new Rust desktop environment, I think somebody is porting it to Arch at the same time as they're working on it.
What'd you say, Josh?
Yeah, because you're trying to get in on the conversation, but it's weird. There's some kind of
Echo
audio
cancellation,
auto
sound
ducking or something going on when you try to speak. If anything else is going on, you're cutting out. So I don't know if you've got some kind of filter or something going on. But it sounds like it's a duck, where somebody's speaking and you're speaking, you're just removed from the conversation.
Oh,
He disappeared.
Steve hacked his desktop and made.
He probably realized
working for
something
me.
was up. He's gonna go fix the problem.
Identifying at least.
There you
My
go. Now we hear
lifesaver.
you.
My lifesaver.
Turn myself up a lot if I just keep turning myself up.
There you go.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah. Now we
Yeah,
can hear all the fans.
Apparently, my audio interface decided that it would turn itself all the way down before between last night and tonight. Or
Mine
happens
does
with
that on Facebook Messenger, on Cabrine.
this is the
Yeah.
this is the hardware switch I was adjusting.
Yeah, I can't figure out like my audio stuff. I'll get all the knobs. Like I use all this analog equipment, and I get it set up, and then all of a sudden the knobs and sliders will be in different positions. Then like everything's jacked up, and nobody has been in this room but me.
Right.
And I can't figure it out. The only thing is there is a train track not too far from here, and I'm wondering if when the train goes by, things don't shake and turn. I can't figure. It's like a gremlin comes in here and just, hey, I'm gonna move all the knobs.
I think it's pipe wire.
No, it's not. It's not pipe wire at all. It's just that the gain knob on my microphone was turned all the way down.
Oh, that's the cat.
Yeah, so I turned it back up.
What kind of mic? It's really thin. Is that the right input? You might want to check the input.
Let's see.
It changed. The cat
It's
changed
a
the input.
condenser mic, so it's omni. It's not completely directional. It's omnidirectional. You got to be almost like right in front of it.
It's a condenser. It's and it is facing the correct way because the other side of it says back.
Well, yeah.
Okay, because the other side says back.
The voice pattern for a condenser microphone, it literally is only like the front 180 degrees of it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's facing the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and condensers are good at picking. They'll pick up all kinds of noise. It's just weird that it's really thin. Like when you hear this back, you'll almost like it's not the right audio input. Like maybe it's your camera mic or something. Like it's that bad kind of laptop kind of audio quality, almost like a laptop mic.
Tell you what I'll do is I'll unplug this and plug it back in and see what happens.
Okay, now we can't hear you. But
You see how I got him to unplug his mic?
He unplugged his mic. But yeah, there's a lot of challenges. I'm challenging myself now. I challenge
you to use a window manager for 3 months.
I think he should use.
I'm challenging myself. I'm trying to get cubes installed.
I think you should go back and give OpenBox a try. Now, OpenBox has a GUI configuration manager. You don't have to do the XML file.
Yep.
There's a program called OB Menu that will automatically generate a menu and let you edit the menu without you doing anything with XML.
And the Crunchbang++ was using the Tint 2 panel.
Yeah, most OpenBox distros are going to do Tint 2.
Or go further and challenge you to use enlightenment.
It has a bunch of rices in it as well, too.
Yeah, can I have a global menu?
A global menu? Not in the Tent 2 panel, no. But you could swap that out for, you could do the XFCE panel since you like the global menu in it. Now, you could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I might do that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people actually do swap out. They'll use like the XFCE panel and the suite of applications, but switch the window manager out to OpenBox. You can do that.
I've even seen some people do Polybar on it.
Yeah, I used Polybar once on XFCE.
It's really bad on a floating window manager.
It is, but I mean they battle it. But I've actually seen.
But it's hard to use a panel that doesn't have a taskbar if you're using a floating window manager. Like if I minimize my window, okay, how am I going to get it back? There's no taskbar on this panel.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm happy to report that Gamer King, my fellow Lebanese guy, he created a rice. The challenge was, how can we mimic the look that Zero Linux has with the latte dock and latte panel, but using KDE panel. Not for potato laptops out there that care about resource usage. He created something called Zero Dunes, simply because we use a wallpaper that has dunes in them. But he was successful at mimicking the latte dock stuff. He has a KDE panel that looks like a dock, okay, minus the zoom effect, and the KDE panel up top. The only caveat is that if you have an ultra-wide monitor like some people, which is 5,000 or 7,000 by 1440, the panel up top is going to look tiny because it doesn't adapt. KDE panel does not adapt because it doesn't have justify feature option in it. I don't know why they're not adding the justify option to it, but that's why I use the latte dock as a panel, because it has a justify feature. So if you make it this small on super wide, it's gonna grow with the resolution. It's gonna adapt to the resolution. But the KDE panel, you made it this big on your monitor, it looks like this, but on ultra wide, it's gonna look like that. So, but he was able to successfully mimic the look without using the resources, and that was a great feat to get there, and he did it. So there's that. I'm really happy someone tried, because I don't have patience to use the KDE stuff.
I think you should maybe do like a 30-day challenge with the awesome window manager. I think that's where you need to go. I think you'd like Lua, and I think you'd like the window manager itself.
I must admit, I have used Lua before, because everybody used the Conky before.
Right.
Conky uses Lua.
I never used Conky.
I hate Conky too.
I used Conky way back in the day. I used to, do a lot with it when it was really cool and fun. Now it's tedious.
It's not about being tedious. It's because for me, I have an issue with burn-in on my monitor. Now you guys are, when I put something blank on the screen right now, I'm gonna still see your picture burnt into the monitor. It will only disappear after an hour. But I have a burn-in issue where if I leave something static, it will burn into the thing.
So if Josh is on the screen for a long time, Josh will still be on your screen even after you turn it on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's scary.
Be stuck with Josh,
right?
But dude,
Josh, sound check.
I think I'm sounding pretty good. I'm hearing myself perfectly fine. Might be a decompression maybe, but I've got that.
It is really some weird stuff going on. Okay. You're probably hearing it right, but on the stream, it's kind of strange.
You get lowered to non-existence when I'm.
No, it's just weird. Yeah, he's right. There's weird compression. It sounds.
I removed sound compression from OBS now.
Sounds like you're speaking on like a $10 lavalier mic, right? Something real cheap, and Okay. I know your audio is better than this normally, so.
Let me restart Pulse Audio here then.
See, now you sound, it's like it comes in and comes
like
out.
It comes and goes, yeah. That's weird, because there for a second, I was like, okay, that sounded okay.
Okay, well, let's see if I crash Firefox.
Almost like there's a short or something, doesn't it? It's because it's coming in and out.
Or maybe a
cat
gate
chew
or
toy.
filter.
Did a cat chew on the cable? Yeah, that's a good.
He crashed Firefox.
He crashed Firefox. Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Speaking of Firefox, I have received a lot of requests, and this is going to make you happy, Mr. Alex. A lot of requests to include Brave as the default browser in Zero.
Hey!
I still am not going to do that, but I use Brave, and I got.
I don't think it matters too much because people are gonna switch to the browser they want to use.
That's the thing. The reason I include Firefox is because it's the safest choice.
Well, as long as whatever you use out of the box is free and open source, most people won't care because they're not going to use whatever you ship with. They'll go get their own browser anyway.
I am a Vivaldi user through and through.
But if you ship like Google Chrome as the default browser, people are going to complain. They'll be like, why did you even put that thing? Nobody's going to use that, even though a lot of Linux users do.
Like I say in a lot of my videos, especially lately, developers should be putting in the least amount of things in, just cover the basics, because 9 times out of 10,
there you go.
Users are going to rip that crap out. They're going to install what they want, and you can't.
Thank you, Kuya. Thank you.
What these people are going to want, you know what I mean?
Thank
you. You can get all these requests all you want, but that's like 0.01% of the amount of people that are going to use it.
You know what? Methane in the chat has a great suggestion. Since so many Linux users prefer Firefox or a Firefox-based browser, LibreWolf, free and open source software, privacy.
Not a lot of people
will know it, but hey, they'll get to know it because it looks just like Firefox. Like no Firefox user is going to open it and go, "What the hell is this?" They're going to be like, "Well, it's Firefox."
Yeah, maybe, but I wanted to say thank you, Kuya, because you confirmed the whole ideology of Zero Linux. That's it. That's it. Cover the basics and leave the rest to the user.
Right, exactly. I mean, really.
Topher in the chat says Josh is compiling a fix. He'll be back in a few hours.
But what really to me is that some of the most important things is the look and feel of the distribution. That's what's going to set you apart, and it's going to make you actually want to stay with it for a while before you hop right away. It isn't the 25,000 editors you put in it, or the cloud accounts that you enable in it. It's just. I'm
about the editors now.
I know you're about the editors now, but I'm just saying. I mean, technically we all have VI, right? We've all got VI.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
Yeah, I've been complaining to Canonical and the Ubuntu devs for years about Vim should just be there straight out of the box. HTOP should just be straight out of the box. Yep. And I harp on that every video because I think one day somebody at Canonical will listen to me. They haven't yet, but one day.
Mark Shuttleworth give a crap.
Like a perfect DTOS distro is a distro that has Doom Emacs out of the box.
Doom Emacs, yeah.
Or not necessarily Emacs, but you got to have Vim. You just got to have Vim on every Linux distribution.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter, desktop or server. Vim.
If I knew anything about Vim, I would have included Vim in Zero Linux, but this HJK crap, I don't get.
Well, you can put Nano there as well, but so many users will use Vim and only know Vim that when it's not there, it causes frustration.
I'm thinking of including Vim, not NeoVim or any iteration.
No, just the regular Vim package is fine.
Regular Vim.
Because if they want NeoVim, they can install it themselves, but just give them.
Yeah, Vim is as light as Nano because it's just a text
right, it's nothing.
It's a command line text editor.
Yeah, it's not a big package at all.
Yeah, so I might include actually to tell you the truth, Arch includes it on their ISOs.
I
think so. Yeah, Vim is there.
They have Vim
because for a long time they didn't.
Yeah,
for a long time. Yeah.
I just hashtagged it out.
Now Gentoo is interesting because Gentoo actually had both Vim and Emacs on the ISO.
Gentoo?
Which is kind of weird. Yeah. Huh?
Emacs?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the great things about Gentoo is Emacs is there.
The great things about Gentoo.
Because they know it's you're going to be there a while installing. They want people to be comfortable in their editor, so they just have them all there for whatever you want to use.
I have a question for you, DT. Doom Emacs.
Yep.
Is there a package for Doom Emacs on the AUR, or is there a package somebody is going to install?
No, because you actually Doom Emacs. The way Emacs works is that Emacs has its own package manager built into it. Like you actually have to install Emacs package. Think of Emacs almost like a operating system unto itself.
Yeah, but does Emacs have a package?
Yeah. Every Linux distribution has Emacs in their repos. Every Linux.
Okay.
But you install the Emacs package, and then you go to the Doom Emacs GitHub, and they'll have a command you enter in the terminal, and that command will trigger a script that the Doom Emacs guys have written, basically telling the Emacs package manager install all of this stuff. And it's going to install for
basically
about
Doom Emacs
15 minutes.
Is a plugin system for as a plugin suite for Emacs.
It's just you can think of it that way. It tells Emacs what to install.
It's
kind of like
Emacs.
It's a distribution of Emacs. Like your distribution tells Arch what to install. Doom Emacs tells Emacs what to install.
Okay.
Emacs is the future.
No, because
you can think that's why I often call Doom Emacs a distribution of Emacs. It's an Emacs distribution.
Because you cannot take the distro maintainer out of me. I need to get this distro maintainer out of me, because the way I was thinking of doing it is creating a bash script that will install Emacs, Doom Emacs, and do everything. But I saw in one of your videos that it might take a while to compile and do it.
Yes, because if you install a lot of, just like with anything, if you install a lot of stuff, installing Doom Emacs takes about 10 minutes for it to install all the packages. And that depends on how many packages, because you can actually edit it, like the config files before you do the installation. Kind of like you edit a package list for Arch. Yeah. You can do the same thing. You can have it really. No, it uses Emacs Lisp, dog. Come on, ain't nothing YAML in Emacs.
Okay, I was just wondering, because when you said Lisp, to me YAML spoke in my head.
No, you're gonna learn Emacs Lisp if you use Emacs.
Because that's how you tell it what packages to install. That's how you tell it which packages you install. It's in a list,
Doom Emacs, they make it easy. They have a really simple package list file that's got all the packages. Most of them are commented out. But you just go in and uncomment all the packages you want it to install.
And if I selected everything to install,
then you would be compiling for a while. It would be very heavy, very bloated. You could do that. Yeah. Kind of like you could install everything in Pac-Man if you wanted.
No,
because you don't do that. But
the way I thought about it, because what I do in my ZSH script is I install all the plugins of ZSH. I just don't activate them all. I just activate the main one. That's
kind of what Doom Emacs does. Is they have a lot of custom modules that they've written. They're there. They're not turned on. And when you go into that config file and uncomment certain lines, some of those are their own modules it just activates them. And if you want to turn them off, you go back and comment that line back out. It just deactivates that module.
Oh, that's nice. Because I want to write a script that installs Emacs and Doom Emacs with a base configuration. Configuration.
Installing Emacs is sudo pacman-s Emacs, and then the Doom Emacs install command is 2 lines in the terminal.
DM them to me if you can. DM them to me so I can create a thing, and maybe I will study the config file, create my own config for Zero Linux, and add it to my tool. People, you want Emacs plus Doom Emacs? Click this button, and we'll do everything for you.
I will put the GitHub in the YouTube chat for everyone that's interested. And then if you go to their GitHub page, just click on the install section.
Yeah,
there's an install link at the top.
Not on YouTube. If you can put
that's fine.
Jitsi, if you can put it in
I can put it in Jitsi as well. Matter of fact, I could have just linked directly to the install portion of the config, but it's just 2 lines.
Yeah, because now you gave me something to do in this because I finished working on Zero Linux for the upcoming release. The KDE version is done for August. I'm just waiting. So now I have something to play with.
Well, if you're going to play, why do you need paid?
So it's basically the command to install Doom Emacs is a git clone. You git clone their repository, and then they have their own custom installation program.
Oh yeah, there it is. Git clone, and then run the
Doom space install. Doom is the name of the script, and then install. It's got a different. bunch of different functions within the script. Install is one of the functions for the Doom script.
Yeah, and if I wanna create my own config, I edit what? To tell it what to install.
Well, what I would do is I would run through a base installation first, and then it's going to generate some config files for you. One of the config files is going to be config.el.
EL. Okay.
Yeah.
Emacs
Well, actually, the one you want to really focus on is init.el. That's the one that's got all the modules listed, and some of them are commented, some of them are uncommented.
Okay.
You can play with that file, figure out what you want, and then what you can do is when you write your script, have that init file already in .config/doom/init.el, and if that config file, that init.el file already exists, when you run through the Doom installation, it will use your init.el instead of the default one that it
so I create my own. I create the base install it, create my own config file. Init.
Yeah, just to go ahead and get their default init.el, and then you configure it however you want, and then the next time you install it on a different machine
with those things enabled.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I want to have fun. I want to have fun with that. I might include it in my tool.
And that's to install it a second time. Now, if you just want to edit that init.el, and
they have an example one.
Yeah, on my GitLab.
On your GitLab, okay.
Oh, well, you can go to get mine, but I mean, you can. I'm sure they have their own examples, probably under. Let's see. Then that's just the Doom script, yeah. I might have to search for a minute. Give me just a second, but we're coming up on the end of the 2 hours. So let's go ahead and get a last word from everybody while I search for this. Hip Dad, give us the last word, sir.
Well, does anybody need any kitty cats? I got a bunch of them.
I like cats, and I've had a lot of them over the years, but I don't think I can do one right now.
Yep. Nah, my last word is pretty much enjoy what distro you're using, and if people give you a bunch of crap, just ignore them and walk on.
Yeah,
I like that. All right, Boone. I don't know if he's mic'd up or not, but if you are and want to give us a last word, he says have no mic, so no last word. Like this section. Thanks all. Appreciate you hanging out with us anyway. Dark Zero, I know you've got a last word.
Yeah, I do got a last word. It's a short one this time, not a long one. Sorry, Kuya. Live long and keep on Linuxing. I had to say sorry, Kuya.
All right, I found the example init.el that they have. Right. Now that what you need to do is before the installation, create in.config/doom/init.el.
I put it inside the install script directory.
And you know what? Yeah, what you need to do is install Emacs, and then create this init.el in.config/Emacs. Or
in your home, my home directory.
No, I misspoke. Not .config/Emacs. .config/Doom. There'll be two different directories. Don't ever go into the Emacs directory. Just go in the Doom directory. .config/Doom/init.el. Uncomment whatever you want to turn on. Comment out whatever you want to turn.
It's my home directory. How can I make it use the one that's inbuilt in when I create the script? It's going to be all embedded in the tool. I don't want like in my.
Are you you're trying to create a binary package for?
No.
Or what are you trying to
do? No. Sorry, I misspoke. In my zero hello tool. Everything is all the scripts are inside the source script, which will end up in user share zero welcome source script. I want to try to figure out a way to have my own config. Embedded within the installer of Doom Emacs, not having to look in the user's home directory for .config Doom.
Skill.
Yeah.
Probably what you would have to do is part of your installation script when you're git cloning the Doom Emacs repository, have your own separate repository just for those configs and have it pull down your specific config and have it place it.
Or like Stefan said. Stefan said the magic word.
Scale.
Scale. That was going to be my next suggestion. You just do it the same way you do like the bash RC and all your other
it's
configs.
hard coded. What you're saying is it's hard coded. It has to read the config the init.el from the user's home directory.
You have got to have that init.el or Emacs will not load.
Ah, okay. So
it will, but it'll be a default Emacs with no, and you will hate it.
Yeah. No, I was hoping to have it bundled within the welcome tool itself, not have to scale or.
Yeah, it'll have to be like you do all your other config files, part of scale or. That's probably the best way to do it.
Well,
that's what I do with DTOS. I just have it. My scale is not scale. My scale is /etc/DTOS, but it's essentially a scale directory. And then when they choose to install it, everything from that directory gets pushed to their home directory.
And what I like is that they describe every module. It has its description. And
it'll have a short little description in the comments. Yeah.
Even if I don't understand it, I'll just Google it. Or sorry, Brave search it.
Yeah, but have that init.el in place before you run the git clone Doom Emacs and then the Doom install.
Oh.
Because if you run that first, it's going to run the init.el that it's going to pull down. Right. Yeah. So you need to have yours in place before you run.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that because if I include it in the Zero Linux config package, Arch package, it's going to be in their home directory from the get-go before as soon as they log in after install.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Because of Scalp.
All right.
So you're saying that's one more.
Cool. Thanks, DT. I'm gonna add Doom Emacs for those who want to enjoy it.
Yeah. If you need, got any questions, just email me or whatever. Doom Emacs, as far as the installation process, isn't hard.
Yeah, I just don't use it. I just leave it to users. I just want to have something new in my tool. I don't want to stick to the old options. And
I'm sure if you have some Emacs users, they'll help you out with any other questions. So. All right.
That's going to be a welcome new feature of the tool.
Yeah. All right. Let's get a last word from George. George, are you there?
I am. I'm just lurking today, mostly.
All right.
Good conversation as usual, and thanks for hosting.
Well, appreciate that. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you again, George. Stephen, give us a little last word.
Well, Steve, you should learn Vim key bindings.
JKL, blah, blah. Yeah.
Because once you're there, you can't go back.
You'll never use an editor that doesn't use those bindings once you learn.
The only thing that JKL remind me of is Game & Watch emulators on the PC.
Yep, but seriously, like I'm still in the learning curve. I've been using NeoVim as a daily driver for the last 1.5 years now. I'm still in the learning curve for using keybinds in Vim, and once it clicks in your mind, you can start puking your thoughts into your editor at a blazing fast speed, which is real.
And it makes it so hard when you're typing emails because now you're hitting I at the beginning of every paragraph, and you can't figure out why your emails are all jacked up.
Yeah,
I everywhere through it.
Yeah.
So. And aside from that, thanks for hosting. And yeah.
All right. Thanks, Stephen. And let's get a last word from Alex. So fellow Jitzer here is actually Alex from the Linux Tube, for those that were wondering who he was.
That's right. And my final words is, Steve, you definitely should use Emacs or learn the Vim keys because it'll also help you associate using key bindings for Windows Manager where you need to migrate to next.
Why do I feel attacked today?
I think stay where you're at.
We're trying to culture you up, man. We're trying.
I mean, once you learn the Vim bindings, then Doom Emacs, which uses evil mode in Emacs.
I like evil mode. I like evil mode. I wish I could show you my phone, but I'm using it as my webcam. It's got Diablo 4 on it.
Well, there you go. It's the same kind of theme.
And by the way, DT, thanks for hosting, man. It was a lot of fun, man. First time on,
right,
and won't be my last time.
All right, appreciate that. Josh.
Let's see. Is my audio better first of all?
That is 1,000 times better.
Okay, I had to replace my USB hub.
Okay.
Thankfully,
I totally understand.
Anyways, So now that we're adding Emacs to Zero Linux, that's one more file that I need to delete out of Zero Linux when I install Zero Linux. Because the first thing I do is I delete the KDE configuration, I delete the Bash RC, I delete the stupid ASCII image that you put in there to hack NeoFetch. I delete the NeoFetch config, and then I force change the default editor from Nano to gedit like it's supposed to be. I do a lot of work just to like completely destroy.
Then Zero Linux is not the distro for you, dude.
Yeah. No, it's probably not. I'd probably just be using Endeavor, but at the same time, Arch Linux always blows off on me anyway.
Gedit. Yeah, I thought he was serious until he said gedit. Now I know it's a joke. Yeah,
I'm waiting for Gen 0.
Gen 0?
Gen 0.
Oh, Gen 0,
all right.
Gen
Well,
2.0. Yeah, okay.
appreciate you hanging out with us, Josh. Let me get my yeah. Let me get my last word. Of course, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me on camera. We had a couple other folks that were here also on camera before they jumped off. You guys and the YouTube chat were awesome. You guys had some good questions and comments as usual. And of course, I want to thank all the patrons, including some that could not be here. So I'm going to show some names on the screen here before we go. And then, other than that, we're all going to wave bye to YouTube and yell out your favorite programming language. JavaScript.
Python.
Lua.
Bash.